Hello everyone, it's Mr. Vaughn here. We are moving into our first topic of our online module, saving money. What is saving? So what exactly does saving mean to you? Have you ever saved before? Do you know what saving is? You know, what do you think the importance behind saving is? Well, I'm here to tell you that saving is the action of putting aside a portion of your income. So when you get maybe you work a job and you're getting a check bi-weekly or possibly even monthly, or if you're getting a financial aid return because you're in college, or you may even just be doing chores and getting a little bit of income. Either way, you still are getting some type of income. Ultimately, what you would ideally like to do when you're saving is to take a portion of that money and putting it aside. This allows you to reach financial goals, whether that be buy a new phone or buy a new bike for college or buy a scooter for college. You also have the assurance of being prepared in case of an emergency. If your car blows up, or if you get hurt or sick, or even laid off from your job, you have some sort of money aside that can help you get through this tough time. Also, preparing for future needs. Maybe you're trying to buy a house, buy a car. There's always something that we want, and if we save, we most likely can achieve that goal. So, why should you develop an emergency fund? What do you think an emergency fund is? I know myself, I like to have money put aside just in case something happens. Which exactly is an emergency fund? The first thing is unexpected expenses. If you have an emergency fund, it is nice to be able to know that if you have an unexpected expense, your tire on your car goes flat, you have to buy a new tire, or if you drop your phone and break the screen, you have the money to get that repaired. The second being job loss or income reduction. You never know when you may not be able to go to work. You may get in an accident. You may just get demoted. You may get laid off. There's an endless possibility of options. And knowing that you have an emergency fund put aside, it is very reassuring to know that you'll be able to afford and pay your bills and not spiral into our next topic, avoiding debt accumulation. If you don't have an emergency fund, it is very easy to create large amounts of debt. You're running up your credit card because you don't have money put aside. You never know when emergencies may arise, and it is always wise to put a portion of your income aside into an emergency savings account in case of the unexpected. We're human, stuff happens. So it's always best to have an emergency savings account. So it is totally up to you on deciding how much money you should put into that account. Of course, everyone has a different amount of income they're getting, but I would say you should try to put at least a small portion in every check or at least every month. So establishing saving goals is a great way to ensure that you stay on track to reaching whatever type of goal you're trying to have, whether that be a short-term or a long-term goal. So short-term goals typically are less than 3 years. They range between a little less than 1 year or potentially up to 3 years. So possible examples are a new phone, a small vacation, maybe you're trying to plan a trip with some friends for a spring break trip, or possibly even car repairs. Maybe your car needs a new battery. Short-term goals require a much smaller amount of money than long-term goals. Long-term goals are savings goals that exceed 3 years. So think of it like buying a house, planning for retirement, paying off student debt, primarily anything that's going to require a substantial amount of money up front. You're wanting to work towards long-term goals by putting aside a small amount of money just like you would for an emergency savings account. Long-term goals and short-term goals are a great way to ensure that you're saving some portion of money. You can decide how much you want to put aside for your short-term goals and your long-term goals. There's no necessary written in stone amount that you have to put aside, but it's a good rule of thumb to put a small percentage of your income towards both of these. An annual percentage yield, or also known as an APY. Maybe some of you have heard of an APR, an annual percentage rate. An APY is geared more towards interest. So it is defined as the interest among savings, typically in a savings account, a money market account, or a CD, a certificate of deposit. And each of these have different rates. As you can see, regular savings account have a much lower annual percentage rate, the amount of interest that you're going to make in a year, than a high yield savings account. That's why high yield savings accounts are much more attractive than your traditional savings account. Typically, if you have a checkings account at a local bank or even a national bank like Chase, Wells Fargo, the larger banks, you're going to have a savings account, but it's not going to pay much interest. The big banks don't like to help pay you interest. They're more just there for the novelty of having a checking account. And then certificate of deposits, they offer a much larger annual percentage yield, but you have to lock that money away for a certain amount of time. Typically 6 to 12 months, some may be longer, some may be shorter, but you're not able to access that money within that time period. And then money market accounts are also between 2 and 4%. So you have a couple different options, but typically savings account and high yield savings accounts are what I would recommend for young individuals. I typically gear more towards the high yield because you're able to make more money, but myself, I have both. But I, of course, make more money on my high yield savings account. And if you're really smart and are able to put away money, you can see it exponentially grow, which is awesome because it's just free money. You can look at it each year and be like, wow, I can go buy some concert tickets and for essentially free because you've made money off money that you put in. And then, of course, this is my works cited. I created all the content except for, of course, like the images and stuff and the statistics because I feel like the statistics help showcase how important savings is and how much you can grow your money if you open a savings account, either that be a traditional or high yield or even a certificate of deposit. So I hope this lesson really helped enlighten you on how important savings money is, and I hope you have a great day.